Want a job where you can use your talents, make a difference, and have the freedom of remote work? Then meet Belay. Belay has contractor opportunities for proven professionals, providing administrative support and social media strategy to fast-paced organizations throughout the United States, all from your home. To learn more, just visit belaysolutions.com/jobs to apply. That's BELAY solutions.com/jobs.
What is up, guys? I'm Dusty Grant, the host of the DG and Friends podcast. I'm excited to take this ride with you as I get to know interesting folks from all walks of life and pick their brains about their journey. I'd like to sincerely thank you for tuning in. DG and Friends starts now. What is up, guys? DG and Friends episode 6 starting now. We are a little bit behind. We had some technical issues, but we've got those all worked out. I'm stoked to have Cristian Machado with me today. How you doing today, man? What's going on with you?
Doing good, man. Thank you for being patient with me through the technical difficulty.
No,
I'm
it's
over here between the desktop and the laptop, and I'm like, what is going on? Is this app not letting me in?
Yeah, technical difficulties are something I've been encountering a lot. I think this is my 13th episode or something that I've done on my podcasting stuff, and I'm still going through all the growing pains. Like, I think I'm going to have to change how we do this because I don't want to make this complicated for you either. I want it to be stress-free, but we made it, and now we're here. So how have things been going for you, man? What's going on?
Doing good, man. Just hanging in there like the rest of America, I suppose. You know, the rest of the world. In America, the situation's a little bit more weirder, but just hanging in there, man. You know, trying to be patient and see what's happening. You know, 2020 is kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous. You got to take it one day at a time.
Do you find yourself drinking a little more during the pandemic? Are you a drinker at all, or do you shy away from that stuff for the most part?
No, I mean, I don't drink at all, actually. I mean,
Good
once in a while, if I go on tour, I might have a drink before the show or something like that, or for a celebration, you know. It's not that I'm like allergic to it or something. It's just, you know, I've never really been a drinker. It didn't stick with me. So I'm kind of grateful for it, you know. I smoke some pot here and there is really about all I got, you know. I'm not much of a rule breaker. I used to be a good rule breaker, but you know, I'm older, so I've just gotten accustomed to me, you know, being in my own zone, I suppose.
That's got to be a little bit of a benefit, especially when you're going on the road. If you're not a big drinker, I mean, that must give you an advantage just by feeling good and not being so hungover all day. I can only imagine like some of the long runs that you go on, like when you get towards the end, you're probably just like drinking just to get through it, I imagine. So you don't have to do that.
Yeah. No, it's exactly like that. And if you know, for example, if you go on a tour, which I've done it both ways. I've gone on a tour and not drank the whole tour. I've gone on a tour and started drinking at the beginning of the tour. I've gone on a tour and like started drinking at the end of the tour, just like you said, to get through it. But the worst was always like, you know, go on tour and start drinking right away. Because by the time you get to the last show, 30, 45 days later, your body's just like, fuck you. Who the hell do you think you are, you know?
Yeah, I did. I had a similar experience. I know I haven't been out for that many days at a time. Like the longest run I think I've ever been on is I'm a weekend warrior solo musician myself. But right, I think the longest run I've ever been on is 10 or 11 days, and I think we did 10 shows in 11 days or something like that. And by the 10th day, I was really regretting the drinking that I did early on, especially because we started at altitude. Bands go out for 40 days; it's like Survivor. Richard's asking, indica or sativa when you smoke, or do you have a preference?
Indica, I guess, because I'm, you know, a long time smoker. So, I mean, either or, I'm not picky, you know. Believe it or not, I smoke weed, but I'm not picky with my weed. But I don't drink alcohol, but I am picky with my alcohol.
That's good. It makes sense.
That's the weirdest thing, you know. Like I'm picky with my beers and stuff. If I'm gonna drink, like I want a good beer and all that, you know.
Yeah, if you're gonna drink, why drink crap?
Sure. But if I'm gonna smoke, as long as it's good. But usually I prefer the indica because I'm just a long time smoker. I've been smoking for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know. I partake from time to time, and I'm such a lightweight. When I do it, sometimes I have to be real careful about what I do, because if I get an indica that's too strong, I get super paranoid. So I have to be like, what is this? Like, so if I do partake, I do have to be a little bit careful. I'm not as seasoned as you are in that category, I don't think. You saw the banner go by down there. Then you've got the new solo record.
Jane, love your music. Thank you, Jane, for listening. I'm so grateful for your support.
I found you on Twitter, and I was a fan of the El Nino stuff, of course, but I found you on Twitter through a friend of mine who tagged you, and I had heard somewhere else that you had a solo record out, and I hadn't had a chance to listen to it. And it actually took that one tweet where you and I connected. It took that tweet for me to go check out the solo stuff. And I was like, oh, if you ever want to come on, man, come talk. And I was surprised to hear back from you right away. So it's nice to see that social media, like when it's for its intended use, it's nice to see that it brought you on. And I am humbled and honored to have you on, man.
Oh, no, man, I'm honored that we connected, and, super happy to be on with you. And for sure, social media is a weird thing like that. I for some reason lately, I'm liking Twitter better than anything else. I mean, I like Instagram and that, but I'm kind of over Facebook. Too many people arguing on there.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are people arguing on Twitter, but the 140 character limit kind of limits everything you can say in one message. And if you can't fit like actual information in 140 characters and you really got nothing to say, you'll get killed on Twitter. Like people will out and destroy you if you have nothing good to say, if you don't know your shit and you're like trying to debate on Twitter. But on Facebook, man, it's people think that they know what's going, and everybody, not everybody, sorry, that's the wrong term, but some people that are constantly on there is probably the right description. They got these they're writing books on there about opinions and about how they see perspectives on things. And I can respect that, but if you can't get your message across in 2-3 sentences, you're stating your opinion, and it's all emotion that you're blurting out, So I've been diverting to Twitter a little bit more. It seems like there you communicate with shorter messages. It's more like texting, and I kind of dig that more than the whole meme thing over and over, and political perspectives and debates always. And I allowed myself like that one Facebook friend to debate politics with, but I only allowed myself him because I didn't want to go too, if you start debating politics on Facebook with everyone, forget about it. And, and after a while, he blocked me. He just couldn't take it anymore. And I didn't even say anything mean to him. He was the one that was being mean to me, but he just blocked me because I wasn't like, swallowing his bullshit. So he ended up blocking me.
It is amazing how you can like seriously poison a friendship on Facebook. Like people are so adamant about their political beliefs that they're willing to burn a friendship down over a Facebook comment section. And you're like, really, bro, this is where we're going? You're going to you're going to go for me like that? Like really? And it's crazy. I've found so many more meaningful like networking connections on Twitter too. So I'm right there with you.
Me too. I totally agree with you. I think that keeping it short kind of helps the platform not be over emotional, Yeah.
You
can't like go rant and go on and on. You could if you have like this post with like 10 different, attachments to it, but nobody really does that unless if it's like data they're trying to put out there. Nobody has like a 10 tweet rant about like mostly opinions. It's like data or information or news or something if they're doing that. But I agree with you, man. It's a great platform to connect on for sure.
And so, yeah, sometimes I think it's easier to get your message across shorter. Like sometimes I'll type something on Twitter and then it cuts me off, when you get to the maximum amount of characters. I'm like, you're being too wordy. It like almost helps. It almost helps me with like my marketing copy or whatever, if I'm posting stuff or sharing a podcast or anything like that.
Same with me with my artist pages. I usually sometimes I'm forced to like have to put extra information in there if the link is like extra long and I don't want to bit.ly the link or something, you know. Then obviously you gotta sometimes make the post a little bit more extended. But I always go by like, if you can't make a post and say it within the Twitter limits, you're just ranting. So I've said that to myself a lot for sure.
Like I should just put this in the Twitter filter no matter where I'm posting it and just see how long it needs to be, and then post it wherever it needs to be, because it is true, man. I think everybody's so used to scrolling so fast now too, where it's like you don't have that much time to capture someone's eyeballs for very long. Like they're looking to look at that thing and go, oh, that's cool, heart, blah, 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 and move on down the thing. But it's just crazy. Do you have
actually? That's a good point, actually. I never thought about it that way, because Facebook, the posts are really tall. You know, it has the height on the posts can get really, really tall. And on Twitter, you can scroll through 100 tweets in a matter of a couple just swipes, you know, where on Facebook, you can't scroll through 100 Facebook posts. You know, your finger would have to like keep scrolling. So I think it is cool, because on Twitter, for something to really stick out, it has to say something, you know? Yeah. Because you're just reading what people have to say, and you're reading at 2 or 3 times the amount that you would on Facebook, and especially on Instagram. So, you know, you're getting so much more information that the thing that actually captures you has to be something relevant or something that connects with you or something, you know?
And if you have a post on Twitter that starts doing well and like people are responding to it well, I noticed that Twitter's not so stingy with the algorithm. Like if you have a post that's reacting well, they'll let it out. You know, they will.
You're right. You're right. Facebook does that.
Yeah, so it's nice if you do have a good post on Twitter that they'll actually let people see it. But the Back Home Media is asking, when you have a fan base like you do, is it smarter to leave most of your opinions to yourself? So basically, you got a ton of fans. If you say something that pisses off, are you worried about saying something that pisses people off so you keep to yourself, or you find yourself being pretty opinionated about what you want to say regardless?
Well, I think I don't consider myself like an extremist of any kind. I definitely feel like I fit within the normal curve of, like, you know, let's say let's say on a scale of 100% of psychological behavior, I'd like to think that I'm like between 20 and 80%, or like 30 and 70%, kind of like in the normal scope of thoughts and reactions, you know, and perspective and emotion. So I'm not really like on the extreme sides of, you know, everything's all messed up, or like,
right,
you know, everything's great, there's nothing wrong. So I think I have pretty normal perspective, and I realize that some of my ideas or conclusions, assumptions may not sit well with some people, but that's likely if you're a little bit more towards the edges and you have some kind of like
agenda or something like that.
A more extreme belief or something like that. You know, maybe agenda can be a little harsh for people that aren't necessarily you know, psychologically manipulative like that, but your perspective might just be completely different than mine. It's really what it is. And I accept that too. You know, I have debates with people all the time, and I have friends that are on the other side of how I feel, you know, and I don't necessarily have any resentment against them or anything like that. It's just, I know that they think differently, and for whatever reason that it is, they're a different individual than I am, and that's how humans behave, you know. And there's a lot of a lot of accepting that you have to do within that, you know. You have to accept that personalities are different and people grow up differently, and, you know, I can't necessarily think like everyone else, like another individual exactly like them. I grew up with my own set of circumstances, and I've seen my own shit, you know, and having lived in like 2 or 3 different countries, and you know, just having friends of all cultures, having traveled, kind of, you know, leads me to assume the things that I do, and I suppose they could not sit well with some people, but, you know, I don't think I'm saying anything overly extreme. I personally, I don't trust any politician. I think any person that does is,
Naive.
leading themselves on, misleading themselves. And with politics, I never try to take a hard side one way or the other. I always try to be critical of any political contender, because I've come from countries where you see what happens and you see how people deceive and lead a population into certain things. And I see it from both sides in the US, And I imagine the question that was asked was mostly, on your political stance. Should you just keep those opinions to yourself? And I mean, I maybe should, but I don't think I'm saying anything that extreme. I think I'm saying things that most people acknowledge and are aware that are an issue if they're observant of what's going on in the world.
Have you found that as you've gotten older and matured, like you talk a lot about acceptance? I listened to another interview that you did with my friends at Thunder Underground, and you talked a lot about acceptance and things like that, and you've done a lot of personal work to get to that point where you're a little bit more open to listening to somebody else's perspective and accepting the things that have happened to you and moving forward. I've noticed, I've listened to your new solo record. I did want to talk about this for sure with you, because I think I have a lot in common with you, as far as some of your personal stuff that's happened to you and things like that. And that was something that I kind of felt a connection to you right away when I was listening to the music, going, I feel like this guy's been through some things, that maybe I've been through some similar issues, and some, I've been kind of left out in the wind in the family loss situation. And I've felt pretty helpless through some things and stuff like that. And I know that you've encountered some difficulties, and I don't expect you to get into the particulars or anything like that, but you talk about doing a lot of work on yourself and acceptance. And it seems like your record is kind of the catharsis, like you're getting all of that out of your system. Do you feel like it's that way, or have you had these songs, as your musical career, were you writing all these solo, or did you write these because of the circumstances that you were going through, I guess is what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, definitely those songs capture a moment in time where I was faced with extremely complicated challenges, and I'll never be one to say, oh, I didn't have my own fault in the things that occurred, but certainly I felt like I didn't deserve, the way things played out. And luckily, I guess I was raised to be someone to accept the things that occur. They occur for some reasons, Um, I've been one to get caught up in the moment of, how do I get out of this? What should I do? I've tried everything. Nothing seems to work. So I've definitely felt like that. And I felt that feeling intensely throughout the last 3 years. And the album captures, I imagine the complete circle of confusion and just confusion and personal pain. I guess you could call it that, internal suffering, emotional suffering. And it got to a point where I realized, I guess I'm trying to do everything that I can, and there's things that I have to accept. Some things take time. And luckily, in the end, with everything that I went through with my separation from my band and with separation from my relationship, also having lost my father, having lost my grandmother several years ago, it definitely helped me see things from a different perspective, and it helped me realize that I do have to accept the things that I cannot control, and I wind up having to tell a lot of my friends that now with what's going on in 2020. And even for me, it's not easy to, adjust or take in a situation and feel like I'm making the best decision always. But I think we all have to accept that we are, we I don't want to say victims, but we are prisoners of certain circumstances that we are not in control of. And
Definitely, yes.
the way we handle those things is kind of like how I wanted to try to evolve, at least take away something that I can, use to better my overall perspective on family, friends, life. What am I here for? What should I be doing? And these are all very deep, intense questions that everybody goes through at some point or another. But you're absolutely right. It took the music and therapy as well to be able to get past it, and then realize once I started listening back to the music, this is a story of all that pain that I went through. But mainly it's the story of the pain I went through and how I had no choice but to move forward one way or another. And I went through intense issues with the separation from the band, the separation of my relationship, and everything in both cases, everything that could have been, used against me or made up about was done.
Yeah.
I'm just grateful that at least it's over. I can get past it. And I have a little bit of music to listen to understand what it is that I, went through. And sometimes it's hard for me to even listen to the songs that I wrote.
I can understand that.
Live, it would be different. You're in the moment and you're there performing, and I'm a performer, and I suppose I'll be able to draw the line, between how far my emotions can go. But it is tough to listen to some of the songs sometimes because it is about me and shit that I had to go through, and most importantly, I think that most of the pain didn't come because of I was looking at myself and saying, oh my God, I suffered so much, even though I was internally suffering. The pain came out of observing other people's suffering. My daughter, seeing my daughter suffer through a separation and seeing how it affected her. My father passing and me never having the relationship I wish I would have had with him. Me being on tour for 20 years, and then I come home and I'm home for 3 months and my grandmother dies, but at least I got to spend that time with her before she passed. So it's a lot of things that led to personal observation, I guess, changes in perspective. At one point in my life when I was just on tour and doing whatever and partying and not caring about anything, chasing chicks and doing all that, nothing else really mattered, And then when you come home and you get older and you mature out of that, you start realizing the things that might have mattered that you did miss.
It's probably really easy for you to like numb it when you're old. You know what I mean? You can just compartmentalize things and things like you can just stuff it down and just numb the pain, play shows, because you're probably getting a huge adrenaline rush every time you're drinking, partying, and you can hide from those feelings, but then you get back to the point where you're home and you probably have to deal with those things. And you mentioned therapy, and that's something that I've been pretty open about. It's something that I started. I had some similar situations to where I experienced some loss in the last couple of years. Was this the first time that you actually decided, hey, I'm in a point where I could use some help dealing with this, or is that a practice that's worked for you before? Or was this your first time and it was heavy enough to where you're like, I need help coping with this?
Yeah. It was my first time realizing that I didn't have answers, and I could easily drag myself into this vortex of depression if I don't get some answers from somebody. And in the past, it was easy to say, it'll pass. It's temporary, but the older you get, the more you realize that you don't have a lot of time left in your life, and things that you leave unresolved could stay like that forever. And, nobody wants to, go to the grave with a friendship they should have resolved, or, with a sibling feeling, bad about something, a parent being pissed at you. You don't want to take things like that to the grave. So for me, it was a realization of time passes quickly, and I don't have the answers. And it was a friend who suggested, there's a therapist that's really good, and I see you going through struggle. Why don't you just go talk to her?
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful that he did, because she was amazing. She gave me some answers, and she, reaffirmed that I'm doing the best I can, and I can't, control all the different elements of what's going on in my separation and the custody of my kid. Even though I was given custody, it was still extremely complicated dealing with the other,
Yes.
individual in the relationship. And ultimately, in the end, I was given full custody of my kid because this person was so complicated. But with me, the way I looked at it always, it wasn't, and mainly I sought therapy for that, because I didn't know what do I tell my kid? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to tell my kid that's been put in the middle of all this by another individual? And she had no choice. She wasn't given a choice. I mean, unfortunately, I needed answers from somebody else. I didn't have them, but luckily, there are therapists out there that are amazing. Um, and she pretty much explained, look, sometimes you have to be patient in life, and things don't come easily. Um, all you can do is do your best, and make sure that you always try to do your best, because you don't want to be resentful about not having done something. And the most important thing that she helped me with was how to deal with this other personality that was being so combative, so conflictual, constant. It was nonstop personal attacks on me. And this is me just trying to like arrange a visit with my kid.
I know
And
exactly what
I'm
you're
being
talking about.
personally attacked nonstop, because I'm like, can I come pick up my daughter today? It's my weekend to visit. Can I come get her? Personal attacks nonstop. But the therapist helped me realize, well, you can't change this other person, and she might feel that way because of her own inner issues that she has to deal with, and and I understand that, and I don't place all the blame on somebody else either. There are things I could have done differently, but I don't think anybody's perfect, and in a relationship, especially in a relationship with two people that separate, it's the two adults' jobs when they have children to have it be mature, civil,
Yes.
And to be focused on what's important, most important for the kid. All courts know that the kid's best interest is to grow up knowing both of their parents love them. You know, all courts know that. All child psychologists know that. So to me, it was like I needed to hear that, and I had heard it from the court, but I never heard it from a therapist who understood what my kid might be going through. And that
And I think it helps.
took me out of such an intense depression, dude. You have no idea.
It was a similar situation for me, and like, thank God you have a friend that cares about you enough to say, hey, dude, I love you. I'm worried about you. Go talk to somebody. And I had
Yeah.
a similar situation happen with me, guys that I train with at the gym and stuff like that. Even my wife, even my mom would be like, hey, you've been through a few things this year. I think maybe you should go talk to somebody. And to have somebody that's objective and they're not from that court web of things that you go through when they put you in with those case managers and mediators and play therapists and all this other shit, and you're being attacked and defended, and it's just scary, and it's confusing and painful, and it's all these things, and you're going through all these emotions. To talk to somebody finally that was just objective with me and saying, listen, you need to understand that you've experienced a trauma. There's other people that have experienced trauma from what's going on here. And just hearing somebody objectively tell me, like, it's what you're going through you're fucking human. It's okay for you to be feeling these things. Like, you experience some painful stuff. And I think once you hear that from maybe a professional or somebody that objectively looks at you, it changes your whole perspective on things. I'm like, okay, I do have a chance to be happy. I need to establish some boundaries. Part of this is on me. these are things that I've accepted. This is treatment that I've accepted. And it took me having someone tell me, because I just kept doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And it completely changed my perspective and completely changed my relationship. And it just completely changed everything. So I'm happy to hear that you've gone through that, because, man, it sounds like you've had a tough couple of years. I'm sympathetic for that. I feel bad about that. I didn't know about that until I started doing some research in the last week or so. So I hope you're hanging in there, dude. I'm sorry to hear that you've had a tough year.
Doing the best that I can, and luckily the courts are on my side and they realize what's been occurring. It took a long time for the courts to realize that, but I think that the system works slowly legitimately for their own reasons. They don't, in family court, they don't like to make, rash decisions on anything. You really have to show what's been occurring, and the judge has to see it for himself in order for decisions. And these are very serious decisions that judges make in family court, So,
yeah.
For me, it was literally, a blessing to go to a therapist and, have her tell me, look, you have to accept some things, and you also have to do some things that you're holding back from doing because you feel this way.
And so we have a good question here. What do you do to cope? What positive mechanisms do you use to get out of that dark space? Because I know you've been there. I've listened to your solo record. I know you're experiencing some pain. What do you do to get out of it?
Well, definitely family and friends got me through it.
Legacy CRM platforms have made you compromise for far too long. With HubSpot CRM platform, you don't have to choose between enterprise tools that are powerful or easy to use. It gives you both, so your marketing, sales, and service teams can align with ease, accelerate sales, and anticipate every customer need. Finally, there's a CRM platform that helps you run better so you can grow better, without complexity ever getting in the way. Learn more at HubSpot.com.
This episode is sponsored by Schwans.com. What are you having for dinner tonight? Good question. Schwans Home Delivery has a solution for you. Stock up your freezer with high-quality frozen foods like premium meats and sides, delicious ready-made meals, ice cream, and more. No subscriptions, no memberships, just a friendly yellow truck that's been delivering food for almost 70 years. Listeners of this show get a special deal. Get 20% off your first order with code YUM20. Check out schwans.com/yum for details.
Isolation could be the thing that really drags somebody to the wrong end of things when they're going through shit. And, luckily for me, I have a great relationship with my mother. I have a great relationship with my sister. I have a great relationship with my roommate that I live with. We're really good friends. He's got family. I have family. We're both separated, so we kind of understand, the chemistry of the situations like that. But a lot of friends and family really is what got me through it. And as silly as it may seem, friends on social media, whether for a moment we laughed about a joke or, we were, just bullshitting about a silly topic or something like that. It's brought me a lot of, enlightenment and a lot of happy moments and a lot of smiling. The guys from my old band, Diego and Aru, definitely Diego has been like, a great supportive guiding light in everything that I've been through. I'm very grateful to him, and to also my roommate and my family. They're really the reason, along with some other few friends that I'm sure they know who they are because I talk to them, but it's really that, if I didn't have them, family, good friends, and especially friends that maybe can relate to some of the things that I'm going through,
yeah,
I probably would have sank into depression. I was steps away from it, and even sometimes I feel like I'm in a deeper depression still, but I'm not really, because I can realize what's going on and that I'm trying to change the things that I can, and I can't change the things that I can't. So that's how I cope, man. Reaching out to friends, reaching out to family, and definitely writing music. Like you said, being able to put it on a piece of paper, to type it out, I think is something that we could all use. People forgot how to like write about their life, take notes, have journals, and just get it out. I mean, psychologists say all the time that having a journal is like one of the best things you could do, because literally writing about the shitty shit you went through that day in short ways allows you to let it go a little bit. And that in itself allows you to accept that you let it go and you can't control it all the time. And I think that the people that really wind up in bad situations, that are in this deep hole, and I've had friends, man, that contemplated suicide a lot, and I have in the past also. But I think not moving to the action is what makes you at least observant of reality, and of yourself, which is the most important thing. You have to learn how to observe yourself. And I catch myself all the time now. If I'm, if I get if I watch like a documentary or something, and it's about this really, really intense topic and somebody suffered, I catch myself wanting to cry about it. And I'm like, oh, there I go, getting all emotional, So you catch yourself a little, and sometimes I just let it out, and I'm like, I want to feel this. I want to feel what this person went through, because that's why we're alive, dude. We're alive to experience all these feelings, whether they're bad or good. I like to think that we were conscious beings for God knows how long, and we took on a physical being, because without the physical being, you can't experience emotions. And,
I feel things the same way like you. Like sometimes I'll be driving and I'll hear a song and I'm just like, I feel things really intensely or something. And I don't know if it's because of the therapy that I'm like riding this wave. But I mean, I can see a commercial of a dad and a daughter walking or something like that.
Well, I think having children does that. I think one thing,
you're probably right.
Dudes that don't have kids, maybe they feel that deeply eventually somehow. I don't know. But I think that, at least having a kid changed me, and then I didn't get to raise my first daughter, but I got to raise my second daughter. It's raising my daughter is what really changed me, because you could have a kid and the kid could be over there, and, she would visit me every summer, and we'd spend a couple months together every summer. But I really didn't raise her. I wasn't there every day for all her daily challenges. And with my younger daughter, I was, so it changed me. I got to see her cry a lot, and I got to see her need comforting, and I went through all the emotions. So it does soften you up, but it also makes you a little bit more open to how other people may be feeling. And I think that in music that helped me greatly, especially in expressing myself in music. I realized that music isn't so much about, telling people, oh, look at how much I know about music. It's about letting them know that you care, that your song cares about a feeling, whether it's yours or whether it's somebody else's. And raising a kid and having gone through challenges, man, it helped me realize that.
So how good does it feel to have your own solo acoustic? Like, I mean, it's not just strictly solo acoustic. You've got a lot of cool instrumentation and stuff on the recording, but how does it feel to have your own solo acoustic record? It's got to feel freaking amazing, right? I mean, after everything that you've been through, to put out a piece of art like that, especially with that many songs, with the production that you put on it, I mean, it's got to feel like like I did it. I came back, I bounced back, and I'm still cracking, and here's what I've got. And from what I've read, it's done pretty well for you, right?
Yeah, no. The album did great, and I'm very grateful. All the fans held high anticipation for it, and they really, I mean, they got it to number 3 on the iTunes top Latin albums and stuff like that. And it feels, it feels like I was able to accomplish something that I've thought about for a long time, that I've always had some kind of push or drive to want to do, but never really got a chance to do it the way that I think I should have. And on this album, I was able to to put some songs on it that I think are really, really good songs, you know. And it feels like I was able to accomplish something that I always looked forward to, but never was able to do. And it was a huge learning experience as well, you know, just making the album, recording live, not having like this super edited album. There are no copy pasted choruses on my album. There are no copy pasted anything on my album. Everything had to be played out together. It was an awesome experience after having been in a rock band where, you know, everything is edited, everything is copy pasted, everything is, you know, done on a very mechanical level.
Right.
It was great to just go back to the organic thing, you know, the thing that really I thought, the chemistry between people, which I think is the original, the more unique thing that you get with music and musicians is when you join musicians, you get really unique chemistries because everybody comes from different, you know, avenues of life perhaps, and people hear your songs slightly different. So they add little nuances that you might have not thought of. So my album definitely has that. You know, I wrote a lot of those songs at home and I was able to first bring them to Conrado and Steven and sit down and think of guitar parts that would complement the main chords. And then beyond that, you know, bass and violin and percussion and, you know, Oscar and Junior and Ali added their own little elements to it. So it definitely grew to something much broader than just an acoustic album.
Right.
The other day, somebody was like, usually an acoustic album, you think of just an acoustic guitar and a person singing or something like that. But I guess the musician in me just wanted a little bit more, you know, and the label was cool with doing it that way. They were the ones that pushed to have the album recorded live, you know.
Oh, nice.
Or else I would have probably fallen back into what I was used to, which is the multi-tracking, just, you know, paste everything, copy everything, because it's the same anyway. But on this album, knowing that we were going to record live, you know, I wanted things to be done differently. Like some choruses have different lyrics, some choruses have different melodies than the chorus you heard before. And those are things you usually don't get to do on a copy-pasted album, you know.
So you've been on the big label, and then the label you're on now is more of an indie type label, correct? I mean, are they okay? So what's the difference between being on a major label as far as creativity is concerned? That's something that I've always wondered about. I mean, I'm an indie guy. I've never had anyone telling me what I can or can't put out. I tend to like really like polished recordings for my stuff, but I play solo acoustic shows. So like, what's the does your label now, they don't want to have any creative control? And before, did they, when you were doing the El Nino stuff, they would get tracks and maybe say, hey, this one's not going to fit on this record, this one's not, or have you always pretty much had creative control in the indie and on the major label side?
Well, definitely in the beginning of my musical career, when I first signed to Roadrunner Records,
Mm-hmm.
I had complete control over everything we were doing. It was me and one other person in the band that were arranging things together slightly, but I was mostly writing all the music and I was finalizing most of the riffs with Mark in the band, Mark Rizzo. And Mark was kind of like my right-hand guy, you know. I would write these riffs, 3-4 riffs that go together, chorus, verse, outro, intro, post-chorus. And then, you know, with Mark, he'd just take them and add like really cool guitar player friendly things. But somehow after that, once the band became successful, there was this, you know, bar set for us where, oh, well, you have to achieve this now and you have to try to grow past this. So it did become, I don't want to say pushy, but it became like, hey, you should try this and you write more singles and maybe you have a lighter song and da 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 da. And then eventually, once the success occurred, then all of a sudden people had something to say, which was the oddest thing I've ever. I mean, you would think if you got a team, right, that's working great and that did great on one album, you would think that on the next album you go, all right, get back to work, just work harder.
Yeah.
not like, oh, get back to work, and we think this and we think that, and I think this other guy also, and so that's kind of like where it went. And now I finally have complete control again. I want to say Victory Records never kind of did that. They kind of just let us do whatever. But by that time, I think that the band had been so confused that the music took a turn, went a different direction, and it was never the same again. But now I'm getting to do anything that I really want to do. Chesky Records prides themselves on being a Latin jazz label that is contemporary and believes in not influencing their musicians at all. They take huge pride in allowing the musician to drive the creative control, and they take big strides to not get in the way of that. And I've seen it in the label manager, Jeff, who I have a great relationship with, has helped me greatly. I see his slow walking towards giving me any opinion. He doesn't like to nudge the creative element or throw it off skew or put a stick in the sports or something like that. He likes to be very cognizant of the music, what the music needs to be. And I think I'm very grateful that Chesky Records is like that. On the next album, I'll probably do things the same way, except maybe have a little bit more input, maybe from friends or producers or something like that. But I was very grateful on this album to be able to get back to just making things that matter greatly to me, and then hoping that it connects with people if it says something intense enough, I suppose.
I think it has. I see that you've developed a lot of support for the record, and I've looked around at some of the press and stuff that you got. So that has to be validation from coming from a heavier band back into the acoustic. But there's a great question here. Now that you have an acoustic album out, if you had to choose between heavy and acoustic, which would you choose?
Well, it's interesting. I definitely have a heavier project that we're doing with Diego and Aru.
I've heard about that.
But I love the acoustic thing that I'm doing. I think I could definitely grow on this. I've already set a goal that if my album can make it to number 3 on the top Latin albums in iTunes, the next one I want it at number 1. So I kind of set a goal for that, and I don't want to not work towards that goal. But certainly I still love heavy music. It's where I came from. I'm a metalhead. It's just in maturing as a person, acoustic music has always been a part of my life, and it's just something that I never.
This podcast is brought to you by Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce. A great sauce starts with the best ingredients. Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is that great sauce. Inspired by our founder's original recipe, Ragu Old World Style Traditional Sauce is made with delicious ingredients, including vine-ripened tomatoes, chopped onions, garlic, and olive oil, simmered together for the authentic taste you and your family will want to come back to. For recipes, sauces, and mealtime inspiration, visit ragu.com.
Really took advantage of or developed, or maybe had enough support or interest to really take on. But I'm very grateful that I was able to do this, and it's definitely something that I'm already setting more goals for. But I also want to say, the heavy project that we have with Diego and Aru it's fucking phenomenal. I mean, I just started getting some mixes back the other day from Kyle Odell, who's an amazing producer. It's like some of the best heavy singles I've ever worked on in my life. So, we're hoping good things for it, but like we were talking about, it's some things you can't control, so we don't really know where it's going to go. We're just kind of like, all right, well, let's just write killer metal singles for now, and we'll see where it goes.
So do you guys have a label for the new metal project yet, or are you going to be shopping for labels, or are you focusing more on the independent approach for that, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, we'll definitely be putting it out to labels. We got a lot of friends in the industry, and we'll see what they think. We're not like dependent on, whether a label likes it or not. We'll see if we release it. We'll definitely wind up releasing it. But we'll pass it around to some friends first and see if they're interested in helping us brand this. We don't even have a name yet. We'll wait till the entire album is mixed to really start, passing it around the industry. But it's really, really good, man. And we're all really excited for it. And, I don't expect anything out of it, but I could see how this could grow into something really, really important.
So do you see that are you going to tour solo when you get like in 2021? Are you planning on tour? Because you haven't toured on the solo record at all. You haven't been able to, because you released it, September of 2020? Is that correct?
September 25th of 2020. And I was supposed to be on tour in September when the album released, but, the situation was given where in the situation that it's another thing we can't control, and I keep telling my friends, man, this COVID 2020 thing is like Alcoholics Anonymous, take it one day at a time. Because you don't know what's going to happen, But I should have been on tour, man. The tour got moved like 3 times already. It got moved, we were supposed to have shows in July, and then they got moved from July to September, and from September to November, and then from November we had to move them to March, April of 2021. So I'm hoping that sticks. I'm hoping the vaccine makes some people feel safer, and some people that need protection get it, so that we don't have as many deaths and people in hospitals and shit, so that we can get back to some kind of social construct, because and to be honest, I'm not as concerned about me and shows as I am about kids. Kids that go to school, that need to be in school, not because they need some kind of somebody telling them what to do all the time, but because kids need social activity with other kids, and that's where they get a lot of it, in school. So I'm hoping eventually, man, we can get back to it. And if the kids can get in school, then certainly we'll be able to have shows of some kind. And I'm going to be doing some shows I really look forward to. Intense shows, where people can come and hear the music and cry and let it all out, but laugh, and I'll be telling jokes in between songs and stories and stuff like that. So it'll be something really interesting. It's going to be more than just going to see an artist play some songs, I want people to come and let go of whatever they may need to, and shit, man, if I could help them accept something that they didn't before they came to the show, then it's going to be a successful, experience. I would hope so.
So when you tour on the acoustic stuff, will you tour with a band, or will you be just playing solo acoustic and doing like storyteller type shows?
At first it's going to be me and the guitar players. So it'll be me and, 2 acoustic guitar players will all be playing acoustic guitar and playing different parts so that it has a musical feel, but some things will be more stripped down and it might just be me with a guitar. So it depends, but I'm going to be touring mostly an acoustic thing, but I've already in my head put this thing that, if acoustic shows go well and people like it, and if they accept me as a live acoustic artist, I'd probably like to challenge myself a little bit more, and then take all these acoustic songs and put a actual rock band behind it, and then do an electric tour of these songs, which would really blow people's minds, because in my mind, I already know how to make these songs electric and make them really intense. And I think that would be fun for the fans or the listeners, or, even just to do as an artist.
So when you said that you recorded the solo record live, you had full band, all the artists that were playing on the arrangement were all playing together and recorded that way?
Yeah.
That's awesome. You don't hear not a lot about that, people doing that these days. I think that's a really cool approach, and it really forces you to make sure that you've got your stuff down and that the songs are fleshed out and that everybody's ready. It's been a while since I've recorded a live song. That's commendable, man. It sounds amazing. I really think it's going to be good for you when you get out there and you're able to push it a little more. You know what I mean? You sold it and you had a really good response, but just think if you'd been on the road and building that buzz and all that kind of thing, it's just such a fucking bummer to have new stuff out. And it's like, I think I canceled 19 or 20 shows. And for me, that's half my shows in a year. I play about 40 shows a year typically, and I canceled about 20 of them and I was bummed. So I don't know. How many did you have to cancel? Do you know?
We were doing a week and a half, 2 weeks in Texas, then 2 weeks in the East Coast. And I had Mexico shows that were supposed to be booked that were pending all this COVID stuff.
Oh.
Australian shows that were supposed to be booked that were pending all this COVID stuff. I wanted to go to Europe too, but obviously the international thing might have to wait a little longer than the national shows. For now, we have April set up, April 2021, where we're going to begin our tour in Texas, and then we'll go to the East Coast. And if everything works out okay, and the international travel is allowed, and there isn't like this hospitals full with people that are ill, then I'll get to Europe and Mexico and Australia and the other places. But I definitely look forward to doing an intense acoustic tour.
Well, if you come through our area, you'll definitely have an army. I'll bring a bunch of people to see you, man. I hope you hit the road. I hope you get through the Midwest. I would love to see the acoustic show live. I think I saw El Nino at McCormick's in Omaha, Nebraska when you guys toured with Seven Dust. I'm sure you've played so many of those that it's probably hard for you to remember individual ones, but I was there for El Nino that night. So it's really cool for me to have you on here. So what's when are we going to start hearing the metal stuff?
I think probably early next year sometime. I would imagine early next year. We're going to be getting the last of the mixes maybe at the end of this year, very early next year. And I don't know, maybe at the latest, like spring 2021. We just want to make sure that we set everything up right. And, we don't want to like rush anything. And we've been very patient about doing this, and, we've taken our time and chose the right people to work with. And we've made very few mistakes in setting all this up. So we don't want to now make a mistake when it's most important, the way it comes out, who releases it, what kind of content are we putting out. We want to put out something really, really good, so I'm hoping spring of next year would be a good time to anticipate for that.
So when the band picks up, will you kind of put the solo stuff on the back burner, you think, or are you going to try to kind of keep both balls in the air?
Yeah, I'm just going to do back and forth. My
Gotcha.
plan is to do a band tour, and do an acoustic tour in between every band tour as much as I can. It's time to get to work, dude. This last year has been so intense, and most people are out of work and nobody really knows what to do. So as soon as I'm able to get back on the road and everything's okay to tour, man, I'm gonna boom, boom, boom. I'm gonna start touring like crazy.
So do you think that this is a great question again from Back Home Media. Do you think there will be a resurgence in live music support once this is over? Like, I think shows are going to be super well attended once things open back up again. How are you feeling about that? Or do you think people are going to be scared to go back out still?
I don't think that people are going to be, I think that people are going to want shows to occur. The question is, some people, what happens is people get used to being lazy. And I'm not saying that everybody's home, so we're all lazy. I'm saying that we all might be used to being home, not going out a lot and things like that. So I think it'll just take, maybe 6 months of society doing its thing normally again, people feeling safe, socializing. And I think within 6 months of that occurring, then yes, you'll start seeing all demographics start attending concerts the way it was, you know. Now, one thing is, you know, young kids, I imagine they'll start attending concerts right away. So if you know, I imagine if you're Lil Pump, you know, your shows are going to be full right away if you play them, you know. But, you know, if you're Reba McEntire or something like that, you know, then your attendances might hurt a little bit at first because your demographics are a little older. You know, I mean, rightfully so. Some people may not feel as safe, but I think the younger listeners of music, they're going to get to show. As soon as their shows, they're going to be there. So you're absolutely right about that. It just depends what genre and what kind of demographic does that genre have.
Yeah, I'm a, you know, an indie artist, and I think it's going to be really hyper competitive for me. Like, I do all my own bookings and everything like that. I think at the level that I'm at, it's going to be hyper competitive for booking because all these artists have been sitting around writing material, recording stuff. There's so much pent up material and pent up, like, anxious people wanting to get out and play shows again, including me. But I think it's at my level, it's probably going to be like hyper competitive because all these indie artists are just chomping at the bit. And I imagine, I don't know, I hope there's enough venues out there to support all the people that want to get back out and play, because I know a lot of venues are really suffering right now. Like, we had our best local venue here in Wichita finally closed, just because they couldn't have shows. And it's one of those venues that is like a feeder to the scene. It's the venue where, you know, acts that are starting out get an opportunity to cut their teeth on stage and kind of really learn about the stage, but they still support some smaller touring acts and stuff like that. And that closed here, and that's a pretty sad thing. So hopefully there's enough venues and enough people attending shows for all of us. But it feels like we've been talking for about 5 minutes, but we just went over an hour, Cristian. Why don't you tell the people how they can connect with you and check out the new solo acoustic record?
Sure. You can find me on any streaming platform. You just got to type Cristian Machado. I'll probably be the first one to come up on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Deezer, Tidal, you know, wherever you listen to music, all you got to do is type my name. And on social media, you can find me on Twitter at The Real C Machado, on Instagram, The Real Cristian Machado, and on Facebook, Cristian Machado. And I'll probably be the first one to come up, or one of the artist pages to come up. And
awesome.
Check out my album is the most important thing I could tell anybody out there that's listening. If you haven't checked out my album, if you like really good songs, really good music of any genre, you're going to love it.
Guys, check out the album. I can testify that it is a great acoustic album, and it's very sad and dark. And I know a lot of people that I play to like that style of music too. So hopefully some of my folks will check out the record. I'm humbled and honored to have had you on the show, man. I really appreciate that you came on. I figured it was just a wing and a prayer when I tweeted that, and you responded right away and decided to come on. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm really stoked to have you on. I certainly appreciate it. And you're someone that I've always respected. And I kind of grew up on some of your music. So to be sitting here talking to you is pretty awesome for me. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you, dude. The honor's all mine. Thank you for having me on, Dusty. And you know, once we get the heavy stuff, let's connect again. Maybe we could talk about that eventually.
Just let me know anytime you want to come on. If you know anybody that wants to come promo anything, any of your friends, anything like that, just have them hit me up. Yeah. By then, I will make sure that it's not.
I got a couple homies in bands that are known bands. Maybe you want to, hit
definitely. Let me know. If anybody wants to promote, just let me know, man. I'll be a big supporter of everything you put out. I appreciate it again, guys. Episode 6, that's a wrap. DG and Friends, Cristian Machado. Thank you, sir. Have a great day. I'm sorry for the technical issues at the beginning. Next time it will be smoother, I promise.
No, thank you. Honored to be on your show, Dusty. Thank you for having me on, brother.
Thank you. All right, guys, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the show on your podcast platform of choice to be notified of new episodes, and leave a positive review if you dig what you're hearing. Guys, I would love to hear from you on social media. Let's get connected at DustyGrant57 on all platforms. All right, y'all, that's it for now. See you next time on DG and Friends.
Under NASA's Artemis program, Dynetics and Leidos will develop and build a new human landing system, advancing economic opportunities and paving the way for a sustained lunar economy. Learn more at DyneticsHLS.com. Under NASA's Artemis program, Dynetics and Leidos will develop and build a new human landing system, advancing economic opportunities and paving the way for a sustained lunar economy. Learn more at DyneticsHLS.com.